another brand new edition of the 901 Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Lawrence Dockery. You can find me on Twitter at LDoc93. You can find the 901 Soccer Podcast on Twitter at 901 Soccer Pod. You can find Bluff City Media on Twitter, since the 901 Soccer Podcast is, in fact, part of Bluff City Media now. You can find Bluff City Media on Twitter, like I said, at Bluff City_media. And hop on over to Facebook. You can find 901 Soccer, and you can find Bluff City Media by searching just those words that I have just spoken to you just now. On YouTube, if you are watching this on YouTube, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and like and favorite or whatever on whatever audio-only platform that you're listening on. But also, you should probably be watching on YouTube, because then you get to look at my absolutely gorgeous face, which I greatly appreciate. So what we got for you tonight: Memphis 901 FC defeats reigning USL champions Phoenix Rising, an absolute pounding down at AutoZone Park. Final score 5-1. So we're going to talk about that. Get into all of the details. I do apologize if I sound just a little bit lethargic, but it is quite late on Friday night, and I've had a lot of travel. Was in Atlanta to cover the USA debacle against Panama at the Copa America. We will definitely talk about that. And I feel like I've been traveling a lot lately. As a matter of fact, as I missed the most recent Memphis 901 FC home game prior to tonight against New Mexico United. That was a 2-1 win. That is when I was away in Plano, Texas, refereeing at Regional President's Cup. So apparently somebody thinks I'm a good enough referee, because I got picked. Not only was I awarded a final, I got picked to go to National President's Cup in Wichita, Kansas. The good news there is that I will not be missing any Memphis 901 FC games for that, because Memphis 901 FC doesn't have a home game for another month. So it's a bummer that there's that long between home games, but it works out, because as it turns out, I'm going to be out of town. So a trip to Plano and back, a trip to Atlanta and back, and then a trip to Wichita and back. So that's going to be a lot of travel in about a month. So I do apologize for being lethargic, but I am running on fumes right now. So, but make no mistake about it. We will definitely be talking about the U.S. men's performance against Panama. Now, the interesting thing is, we are recording this on a Friday night. The podcast is going to be posted on Tuesday. By Tuesday, we will know if the U.S. is still in Copa America or completely out of Copa America. I'm recording this at a time when I have the most up-to-date information possible, but this could be wildly out of date by Tuesday, or it could be every bit as true on Tuesday as it is now. That's part of the fun. So we'll cross the appropriate bridge at the appropriate time. But for right now, first things first, we're talking Memphis 901 FC against Phoenix Rising. This was a very good performance, start to finish. Right from the opening kickoff, you could just tell there's only going to be one team winning this game, and it's not Phoenix. The passing was crisp and fluid. They were just absolutely shredding Phoenix. They had Phoenix chasing shadows. I mean, it was, and this is not to take anything away from Phoenix, because Phoenix is a solid team. They're only coming into tonight, they were only a point behind Memphis 901 FC in the standings. But they made it look like professionals against amateurs out there tonight. That was, as I don't know if clinical is necessarily the right word, but that was surgical. That was a surgical performance from 901 FC. The balls into channels, the balls into space, through balls, sideways, long ways, however you want to call it. They were picking guys out. They were threading the needle. And when you're doing stuff like that, and you're already a pretty good soccer team, 5-1 is probably the result that you deserved. And Coach Glass said in the postgame, as crazy as it sounds, they probably could have had a couple of more. One thing I thought was interesting is, and this is not any kind of judgment or against either team or the referees or anything, I just found it very strange, or not strange, but unusual. There seemed to be a lot of offside tonight. It's not necessarily bad when you win 5-1. I'm not gonna be mad about it. I just found that interesting. It was it doesn't seem like there's been a lot of offside decisions the last couple of home games. It just seemed like there were a lot tonight. That's just a little weird observation. No grand point to go along with it, unfortunately. And when you're passing as well as they did tonight, everybody got in. Everybody they spread the wealth. Everybody shared very nicely. I think probably the only guy who maybe deserved a goal that didn't get one was Bruno Lapa, but he had a couple of really, really good assists. Zach Duncan opened his account for 901 FC. It's the first goal he scored in a 901 FC shirt. He's one that he's been so close so many times. I feel like in the last podcast we did, I made the comparison to him as an artillery gunner finding the range like a Civil War artillery gunner. It's like, oh, that one's too low. Let's raise it up, or too high. Let's drop it. I know I've made that comparison at some point. I just don't know if it was the last show I did or not. Tonight, that he wasn't shooting from outside of the box tonight. There are a lot of crisp surgical passing, and he was able to fire home from close range. Much the same for Emerson Hindman. He's been another one. He's got opened his account tonight. He had been doing a lot of long range shooting and would either hit the crossbar or miss by about that much, or have the keeper pull out an otherworldly save. And his goal was a little bit less crisp and clinical. Still fantastic build-up play from, I think it was Luis Fernando and Marlon Santos. But as Fernando crossed the ball into Marlon, as he was about to go get it, his defender beat him there and tried to clear it that way. And it fell just slowly and perfectly for Emerson Hindman to just tap home from 10 yards out. That was his first goal. So that was good to see Zach Duncan and Emerson Hindman get their first goals of the season. Marlon Santos got one. This is a scheduled tweet. Marlon Santos with a goal. I think at this point, I'm pretty sure he won USL Player of the Month for May. Cool off a little bit of June. But that's going to happen very, very rarely. Are you going to have anybody who just scores a goal and an assist basically every game? That doesn't happen very often. I would certainly not complain if that happened here. But all in all, he's still having a fantastic year. I believe that's his 7th goal of the season. And obviously, you also got to give shout out to Carson Vom Steeg. He got his first goal of this. I think it was his first goal of the season. In any case, he got a goal tonight, and that's what we're going to concern ourselves with the most. That was off of a corner kick. And I mentioned it in the press box tonight. I said, I am glad to see that this team can score on corner kicks now, because if you'll recall, the first 3 to 4 years of Memphis 901 FC's existence, corner kicks were the ultimate exercise in futility, especially during that debut season in 2019. As good as Cam Lindley was with set pieces, and as good as Mark Birch could be with set pieces, I feel like every single corner kick was overhit by 5 miles. It would do, and it was one of those ones where it leaves his foot and everybody starts to jump and then goes, no, there it goes, bye. So to have Bruno Lapa float, perfect curl, perfect weight, perfect everything. Carson was almost grievous bodily harm in the way that he was being held and dragged, but he headed it in, so all's well that ends well. And it was also really good to see Knight Pickering get in on the score sheet with a very smart finish, I think from just outside the penalty area. That, believe it or not, is his first goal in league play since the season opener, when he got 2 against Las Vegas, one of which was the goal of the week. He did also, I don't know that he got, actually, you know what, I take that back. I don't know that he got 2 against Las Vegas, but he did get 1, and it was goal of the week. He got 2 in the Open Cup against Miami United. Apologize for briefly messing up the stats there. But all in all, very good performance from all involved parties tonight for 901 FC. This runs their unbeaten streak to now, I believe it's 10 out of 11. Double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. 10 of the last 11 unbeaten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those are wins. So that's a very good run of form. That might not quite match that run of form they had last season, where they, again, these seasons are kind of almost mirror images of each other up to this point. Obviously, I can't project what's going to happen the rest of the way, but last year started slow and then kind of got hot when I think it was 12 or 13 games unbeaten last year. And then, oddly enough, against the Phoenix Rising, the wheels really started to come off. And, they got absolutely hammered in Phoenix on national TV, which was all the more frustrating because that was an ESPN2 game last year that we didn't get to see the first 15 to 20 minutes of because there was a cornhole championship for some reason that wasn't live and it just ran long. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's wrap this up. You have a beanbag tossing contest that's pre-recorded, preempting a live soccer game. So that was on a soccer fan level, that was insanely frustrating. And as a fan and person that covers the team involved in the game, that was doubly frustrating. So that's when the wheels started to fall off last year. You fast forward to this year, you've got a slow start. All right. Yeah, there were 5 losses in a row. That feels like an eternity ago now. It really does. It's really, really, I mean, the players and the coaches deserve a lot of credit for not getting down on themselves because, 5 losses in a row will try your soul. And Coach Glass said it, we've been rewarded for all the work that we've put in. And I can't disagree with that. They stuck to their guns. They stuck to what they knew worked, and they're sitting pretty right now. I don't know where I think they are in a tie for second now in the Western Conference, the Western Conference is just insanely close. So you could be at one moment you could be in second, and at the next moment you could be down in 8th. So they're aware of that. They are aware that it's tight and that they need to keep pedal to the metal. Goal difference could end up becoming important down the road in terms of tiebreakers. So it's good to see that they put 5 and added a +4 in the goal difference column tonight. It's also very nice that they got revenge for that beatdown in Phoenix last year. Not quite the same scoreline, 6-goal loss isn't necessarily wiped out by a 4-goal win, but we'll take it. And that's a beating that Phoenix might not forget soon. Now, you do have to go back out to Phoenix at some point this year. That's all the way in October. Luckily, October 19th, it'll still probably be fairly toasty out there, but it's not going to be $120 like it was last July. So, moving on to everybody's favorite topic, the attendance. The attendance tonight was 2,775. And as you see on the scroll, is it time to start getting concerned? I feel like I have stayed the course, so to speak, on it's not time to panic. It's not time to panic. And the numbers have gotten, there was a 3 or 4 game stretch where the numbers were up compared to the previous game. Not dramatically, but up nonetheless. And it was a Friday night rather than a Saturday night. Don't know that. Honestly, it does feel like a Saturday. I may have even at some point early in the show said we're recording this on a Saturday just because that's just what we're used to. My hope had been that with the way that this team was playing, the work that the organization has put in with community events. I just saw this past week or the other day while I was in Atlanta, just sitting in the press box at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, scrolling around through the Twitter feed that they had gone to. There were 2 different, several sets of players. I think they went to like the Boys and Girls Club, maybe, and then there was like a food bank or some type of. It was 2 different community events with several players doing each. They've done so much better about that, and not just doing that because Caleb Patterson-Sewell has been very pointed in saying we did a lot of stuff last year and we're on course to, surpass what we did last year. The difference between last year and this year, to me, is that they're much more visible and vocal about what they're doing this year. Because last year, me, I was very hard on this team last year, saying, you guys aren't doing anything, and I've been told that they were in fact doing things, but part of one of the biggest reasons for doing those community events is that you are seen doing them. And if you're not making yourself seen with your social media posts and getting the word out to whoever, it doesn't entirely defeat the purpose, but it defeats a large chunk of the purpose. And they've done a much better job about that this year. The fact that I haven't been able to be at many of them, with the exception of that open practice out at Mike Rose, but I'm still aware of them and able to relay that information to you, I think speaks to the job that they're doing. Could it be better? Absolutely. I mean, 2,775 people says that it can and needs to be better. I had hoped that the summer of soccer was going to boost those numbers, especially considering that for I think it was the Italy-Albania game on Fox at the Euros, Memphis was the third best market in the country for watching that game. Could the team be doing a lot more? Sure. But it is going to take time. If we get to the end of the season and the numbers still look like 2,000 or, God forbid, worse, then it's time to panic. It's not time to panic just quite yet, but I am starting to get a little bit concerned, considering that we are in smack dab in the middle of the summer of soccer and the team is playing very, very well. And, we'll just have to wait and see. But if it doesn't get better, I don't know where we go from here. I mean, I have one or two more ideas, but I think if the organization felt that they were ideas worth doing, they would probably already be doing them. I did have a very good conversation tonight about, hey, there is a 3v3 tournament at Mike Rose on August 3rd, the same night as a home game against the El Paso Locomotive. And it is the Cancer Kickers 3v3 tournament. Cancer Kickers, of course, is the 901FC jersey sponsor. And when I brought that up and had that conversation, they said, oh, yes, we're aware. It's on the calendar. We'll be there. So kudos to them for that. Look, they're much more visible with their efforts this year than maybe they ever have been before. I can't fault them for that. They've done a lot of what I have asked and wanted them to do, and it's not going to result in immediate short-term dividends. My hope is that a year or 2 years of sustained stuff like this eventually leads to an uptick. It's not just going to happen overnight. It's you got to be in it for the long haul. And Memphis 901 FC is acting like an organization that's in it for the long haul. So the next home game is July the 27th. That is just under a month from now. That is one of the fireworks games. The last fireworks game, I think, was the Pittsburgh Riverhounds game, if I'm not mistaken. And that was the same week as the open practice. And that was the game where it felt like they underreported the attendance, which never happens, as I've said many times. But even J. Mim said we got a real proper atmosphere tonight at that game, and it really felt like it. Hopefully, the team continues to play well. Hopefully, the summer of soccer has moved the needle even more than it already has to this point, and the fireworks get a lot of extra people in there. All right, the last thing before we shut it down for the night. Teased it in the open. Talked about it in the open. Here we are now. I was in Atlanta to cover the USA-Panama game at Copa America. Great crowd, 59,000 people. Let me tell you what. This is actually the first time that I've been in a press box that was an open air press box, but because it's a dome stadium, it felt like you were just part of the crowd, which made it such an amazing experience. Because let me tell you what, that place got loud. Like I've been in a lot of, like as both as a fan as a journalist, I've been in a lot of soccer stadiums. That might be the loudest I've ever heard, me personally heard, because it was like my ears were ringing when the U.S. scored that first goal that got waved off correctly. Bummer though it is. But the real reason that I wanted to touch on this is because if you spend any time on Twitter at all in the last 48 hours, not to sound like an obnoxious, arrogant ass, but I've kind of set Twitter on fire. I have gone viral and am the topic of the American soccer Twitterati, which is both hilarious and exhausting. That's part of the reason I'm running on fumes right now. Is like every time I look, it's just like, wow, 30 more notifications. I've picked up 300 followers since Thursday night. That's crazy. It's Friday night. I've picked up 300 followers in 24 hours. One of which is Tab Ramos, former U.S. national team player, former U.S. youth national team coach, former MLS coach, former USL championship coach with the Hartford Athletic. Now works for Univision, I believe, or perhaps it's Telemundo, whoever the Spanish language rights holders is for Copa America. I did actually see him in the press box in Atlanta. I was, said hello. He kept walking. But I was going somewhere with all of that. Oh, yes, I have gone viral because I am I guess, most vocal about it. If you just scroll through the Twitter feed, you'll see I asked Greg Berhalter if they lose to Uruguay, should his job be on the line? Because the U.S. men's national team has gotten to the semifinals at the Copa America twice in their last 3 appearances, 1995 and 2016. We don't speak of the 2007 tournament. And guys, one thing, if you might be tuning into this part of it, expect me to yell and scream and hoot and holler. I don't have that in me, not just because I'm tired, but much the way that Greg Berhalter has broken the team and the fan base. I wouldn't quite say that he has broken me, but I don't have anything new to say. The man is still a terrorist. The man is unfit to have the job that he currently has. He had no business being hired. He had no business being rehired. If he had an ounce of decency, he would resign the minute this tournament is over, which, like I said, this is being recorded on a Friday night, and this will be posted after the final group game against Uruguay. So anything that I'm saying they might still be alive. They might not be. I don't know. If I had to put money on it, I would bet against them making it to the knockout round. And let's be real, when they get to the knockout round, they get to play either a Colombia team that just absolutely massacred them or Brazil. And you have, in all of your years of playing Brazil, you have only not lost to them twice. So the odds of you not losing to them twice in a row is not high. So I swore for 7 years, dating even before he was the coach, when we already knew that he was going to be the coach and U.S. Soccer pretended that they were running a real search, which they weren't. Carlos Cordero was like Joseph McCarthy. I've got this list of 57 people who are communists in the government. Hey, Joe, can we see the list? Oh, no. I can't tell you who's on the list. Cool. So there's nobody on the list. U.S. Soccer, Carlos Cordero. We conducted a very extensive search and we interviewed 33 different candidates. Cool. Who'd you interview? We can't tell you that. Cool. I swore for 7 years, dating all the way back to late 2017. If I ever got the chance to ask the dude a real legitimate question, I was going to ask him a real legitimate question. Because I've been in there for press conferences with him after 3 different games. The first 2, the 2021 World Cup qualifier in Nashville, where the team got booed out of the stadium at halftime because they didn't have a single shot. They got booed out of the stadium at the end of the game because they dropped 2 points to a team that they used to own. And I was not allowed to ask questions at the end of that game. The friendly against Ghana in October of last year, they beat Ghana 4-0. Fairly dominant, comprehensive win. I didn't even have it. I mean, what am I going to do? Walk into a 4-0 win press conference and start throwing grenades? No, like that. I would. There, regardless, I was again not allowed to ask questions, and not just, oh man, I didn't see your hand up. We'll get you next time. No, it went. That's you. Oh, no. Finger wag. No. That happened twice. So this game against Panama in Atlanta was not a U.S. soccer controlled event, though I'm sure JT Batson will get on Twitter and take credit for the 59,000 people that showed up, but won't take any of the blame for the 2,000 people that show up at the U.S. Women's Gold Cup, which was not U.S. soccer controlled. This was a CONMEBOL event. CONMEBOL doesn't know that U.S. soccer doesn't like me. They handed me the microphone, and you can watch the beginning of the clip and see how confused and flustered Greg gets because somebody comes in from the side and is distracting him. And finally it gets to me, and there's a solid 4 seconds of silence when I said, hey, should your job be on the line against Uruguay? A lot of hemming and hawing, a lot of stumbling. I don't think he's ever expected anybody to ask him a question like that before. I had somebody reach out and say that somebody asked him that very question in Dallas. I don't have any reason to doubt that. I just haven't seen it anywhere. That's you guys know me. I like to be on the lookout for stuff like that, and it has not crossed my path to this point. I got to ask him. I had at halftime. I had they gave us these nifty little Copa America notebooks. So I had on my sheet of paper. I had several different questions I wanted to ask. I ended up going with the most professional of them, regardless of what others may think about the professionalism of it. And I mean, it's a legitimate question. Prior to Greg Berhalter's tenure, the United States had lost to Panama once, ever. That was the 2011 Gold Cup group stage. And guess what happened at the end of that Gold Cup? Bob Bradley got fired. Since 2021, the United States men's national team has lost 3 out of 4 games to Panama. If Greg Berhalter has said the goal is to change American soccer forever, well, he's sure as hell accomplishing it in all the wrong ways. Since he was rehired, he has 7 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. When they inevitably get butchered by Uruguay, that's going to be 7 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw. Is that changing American soccer forever? The one thing that they could always point to is he's got a really good record. On paper, his win-loss record and win percentage is better than any U.S. manager in history. And then you actually dig a little bit deeper, and it's like, oh, it's all against CONCACAF teams on home soil. Okay. I don't even think we can claim to be the kings of CONCACAF anymore. I mean, you didn't win the Gold Cup last year, right? And then you just lost to a CONCACAF team at home with a 59,000 home crowd behind you. Don't act like this was the Costa Rica game in New York in 2017, which, by the way, that was a 26,000 packed house. There were not 25,000 Costa Ricans in that game. Let's all quit pretending that was why we lost that game. I have no new superlatives or expletives or disdain to direct at Greg Berhalter. I just want the man gone. I want it to end. I want the suffering to end. This man has robbed me of any joy that I used to get from watching this national team. There is nothing fun about them. There is nothing entertaining about them. Christian Pulisic can say, we're going to run through a brick wall for this guy, and then they play like that. They talk about the culture of the team. You've had, in your last 5 competitive games, you've had 2 guys sent off for punching people. Don't tell me about the culture. I don't want to hear about the vibes. And sure as shit, don't tell me that you never talk soccer with the players. That was Tyler Adams. Oh, we love Greg because we don't talk soccer with him. What? I'm sorry. You are the United States men's national team for soccer, right? Okay. Well, as long as y'all are trading baking recipes and, talking about daycare, and, don't care. Sorry. Maybe that makes me a bad person. I don't care that he is taking an interest in your family. I don't. He gets paid lots of money. He gets paid too much money to win soccer games. And this whole vibes thing, 7 wins, 5, probably about to be 6 losses, and 1 draw. Is that changing American soccer forever? I want it to end. We are on the precipice of the best and perhaps last great chance for soccer to explode in this country. With Copa America this year, Club World Cup next year, World Cup in 2026, Olympics in 2028. If not now, when? And you would think a big part of that would absolutely have to be the success of the national team of the country hosting all of those events. This man, this terrorist, is on the verge of destroying that for all of us. It has to end. It must come to an end. We have to save ourselves. It won't. They could lose 6-0 to Uruguay, which very well could happen. Have you seen how Uruguay's been playing since the last World Cup? They're one of the best teams in South America, both historically and currently. I don't know what else to say. I feel defeated. I do take a tremendous amount of pride in doing what I told myself I would do and getting in there and doing something that nobody else would do and ask a real question. All of the questions that were asked in that press conference were all the same generic boilerplate questions designed to get generic boilerplate answers. Why do you think he was so flustered when I asked him a question? It's not anything he's ever had to answer before, and he didn't really answer it. No, that's not for me to decide. My brother in Christ, you are the coach. I am asking you about whether you are going to be the coach. I mean, it might not be your decision, but I'm sure you have thoughts about it. Or perhaps he doesn't have thoughts about it because he knows, short of being discovered with a corpse and a kilo of cocaine in his trunk, he's got the job. But, what do I know? Anyway, that's probably going to be it for me. The worst part about this is the anger is gone. I don't have it in me to be angry about it anymore. I was sitting in that press box. The VIPs were 3 or 4 chairs to my right. Jeff Carlisle of ESPN, Stephen Goff of the Washington Post, somebody whose name escapes me, I believe from The Athletic. It wasn't Paul Tenorio, I don't think. The usuals, the regulars. I was sitting there. They looked at me like I was a maniac. I am kind of a maniac. I'm a happy, fun maniac. I was laughing. I spent the whole game just laughing because that's all I could do. I don't have it in me to care when that Panama goal went in with 8 minutes left in the game, I was cackling. It was hilarious. It was so predictable. So totally predictable. And so avoidable. The other problem is, okay, we finally get rid of him. Is the damage already done? All the good coaches are gone. I mean, would I like Jurgen Klopp to be the next U.S. national team coach? Absolutely. Do we think he's going to take the job? L.A. Noire X GIF. Doubt. Should they try? Absolutely. Then you should go hat in hand, tears in your eyes, on your hands and knees to Jesse Marsch, begging for his forgiveness and begging him to take the job. Jesse Marsch has been in charge of Canada for 4 games. They got a draw with France in France, and they just beat a South American team for the first time in like 30 years. And that dude wanted the U.S. job. And y'all were like, nah, we're good. We got this guy. Changing American soccer forever. Indeed. That is going to wrap it up tonight. I have hit the end of my will to go on for this evening. I've hit the end of the rope. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I do really appreciate it. Like I said, this is recorded on a Friday night, so by Tuesday, everything that I just said could be totally irrelevant. Or it could be as spot on as it usually is. We will see. But thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Again, you can find me on Twitter at LDoc93. And if you can't find me, I do pity you because, like I said, 300 new people have managed to find me in the last 24 hours. It's wild. On Twitter at LDoc93, 901 Soccer Podcast at 901 Soccer Pod, Bluff City Media at Bluff City _media, because we don't cover just soccer here. We have Grizzlies, Tiger football, Tiger basketball, you name it, we probably have it. Bluff on Facebook, 901 Soccer, and then Bluff City Media. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. Perhaps you are a Greg Berhalter defender. Now would be a great time to jump into the comments and drive that engagement so that I can respond to you and tell you you're an idiot. If you're not on YouTube, you should be, so make that happen. But if you aren't, if you're on Apple or Spotify or Podbay or Radio Public or whatever, please continue listening to us there. And do all of the same stuff for YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. I don't know that you can comment, but like and subscribe there as well. It might be a minute until we talk again. Like I said, that next night I want to see home game is July the 27th against San Antonio. But, depending on what happens with the U.S. national team, prayers up that there is a coaching change. I don't anticipate it, but, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And whenever it is, we will talk to you later.